Hi, my name is Samy Nour Younes Figaredo. My pronouns are he, him, or they, them, and I'm an actor, activist, and public speaker, specifically as it pertains to issues around LGBTQ plus people. I think that media can play a really crucial role in making the world a better place for the trans community because media, while it is a big source of entertainment, it's also a big source of knowledge and outreach. I think the most recent statistics from the Williams Institute out of UCLA estimate that only about 0.6% of the US population identifies as trans or says that they do, when surveyed. That's less than 1% of the US population. So for most Americans, their exposure to the trans community is going to be through the media.
Hi, my name's Susan Stryker, and I am a retired professor of gender and women's studies, specializing in transgender topics. I'm also a filmmaker. The things that we see in mass media do inculcate a certain set of values, or they model certain sets of responses and reactions to things that you encounter in the world. There's a lot of really, really negative representations of trans lives that I do think can reinforce the worst in people and contribute to to actual real world violence.
I think that actually most people are well-meaning and well-intentioned and want just the best for everyone as long as nobody's hurting anybody else, but they don't realize how the beliefs that they were brought up with are harmful to trans people. If used effectively, media really can play a role in humanizing the trans community for people who don't have direct access to them, and thereby hopefully shifting that public attitude away from transphobia and more towards acceptance and support.
One of the things I really want to stress is that trans people can be interesting in ways that don't have anything to do with the fact that we've transitioned genders.
So many trans narratives, at least in the past, have focused on just the need to transition, that desperate need to transition, and that's going to solve all my problems. And what if we as storytellers kind of set the example and say, like, that's not actually what we're going to talk about. If you have questions, do your research. But in terms of understanding this character, just get on board with the fact that the transness isn't the issue. The issue is they're going through a messy divorce.
You can have trans people in any role. The script doesn't say we need a cisgender white secretary, to play a secretary on a cop show. It's just a secretary. So why not cast a trans woman or a trans woman of color in that role, or a trans man? It's just another person having that job.
What if we just kind of model that for people? Yes, this person is different from you, get on board. I think that in terms of good intentions, that kind of go awry. A lot of writers kind of fall into this, well, if I want to portray you positively, I don't want to give you such a flaw. So I'm going to hang back. We want to do positive representation, but that tends to kind of manifest as respectability. And I want to kind of challenge people to create trans people who are not perfect.
If you're actually just showing a character and all of their messiness and flawedness and vulnerability and complexity, it's going to be an interesting story.
And if you have questions, consult a trans person.
There needs to be a really ethical commitment to being in dialogue with the people whose lives are like the lives that you are writing about. It will make for a better story, and it's the right thing to do. And even better than saying, how can I be the person who tells this story in the best way, is to ask, am I the best person to tell this story? And just having a trans person in the room brings a perspective that otherwise is simply lacking. If more people had that same insight, what kind of beautiful art would they be making? I want to know. I want to hear that story.